Pleased to say that the Levelling Up and Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, is with us now. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on the programme this morning. Mouldy houses. You, I believe, are suggesting that organisations like those in Rochdale should get their money cut because of mouldy houses. How does that help people who need to rely on these associations?
Well, housing associations should be looking after their tenants first, and we're not giving money to people who are not even looking after their existing properties to build new properties. They've got to make sure that they look after their tenants. It would be, I think, wrong of us to give public money to an organisation that is failing until it gets its own act together.
But how does cutting money to them help them do that?
Well, this is money that is there for them to get building new homes. If you can't even run the homes properly that you are currently responsible for, then you certainly can't be building new homes. And this money will be used across the country in order to build new homes. But Rochdale Boroughwide Housing, they're not getting it because they failed, as you've reported, Kay, in this horrific case. And they've got to make sure that they are spending the money they've got effectively at the moment before we give them any more.
But if you give them more, then they can build better housing stock.
Well, this is about new homes and existing homes. And the critical thing is they have the money they need, they've got the resources they need in order to deal with the problems that are currently preoccupying me and so many others. It is not right that taxpayers' money should go to allow an organisation to expand, particularly an organisation that was paying its chief executive north of £150,000. They should not be getting extra cash until they use the money they already have to improve housing. And I'm saying to all housing associations that their responsibility is to deal with the damp, the mould, and some of the other problems that have been identified by campaigners that are meaning that there are thousands of tenants who are living in homes which are not fit for human habitation.
Where do you stand on the argument about building 300,000 new homes a year? Because it seems to be splitting the party at the moment, and thus the government.
We all know that we need to build new homes. I think there's a consensus about how we build new homes. There is a conversation about how we make sure that the planning system works better. And some of the concerns that have been raised are concerns that I have too. We need to make sure that when we build new homes, that they're beautiful and high quality. We also need to make sure that we safeguard greenfield sites wherever possible and prioritise housing on brownfield sites. That's both good for cities, helping them to regenerate. It's good for the environment too.
Greenfield sites wherever possible. Does that mean that you would...
brownfield sites wherever possible, sorry.
You said greenfield sites. You said that wherever possible you won't build on greenfield sites.
Exactly so, yes.
But you are not ruling out building on some greenfield sites if necessary?
Well, the green belt is protected, but the priority always is brownfield first. And in the last year, the balance has been tilted in favour of brownfield sites in a more profound way than ever before. But there is more to do. And as I say, it's both good for cities. We've seen great cities like Manchester revive and grow with more people living in the town centre as a result of regeneration. We are trying to do that elsewhere with the help of local government and the help of an organisation called Homes England that's got millions of pounds to help to do that. And that is not only good for those cities and good for levelling up, as we encourage the great cities in the Midlands and the North to grow, it also helps to relieve the pressure on green fields. That is good for the environment, as I say.
You're a very busy man. I heard you in the House of Commons earlier in the week saying that you feel sorrier for younger people than you do, potentially, for pensioners. That's not going to go down very well with the bedrock of Conservative supporters, is it?
Well, my mum and dad are pensioners, and I'm naturally on their side. But one of the points that I was making is we have to recognise that over the course of the last few years, for a variety of reasons, partly the residue of COVID, young people are having a challenging time, and I want to make sure that we extend opportunity to the next generation, and that means both building the homes that they need, but also making sure that we get our economy onto an even keel after the turbulence of COVID and the war in Ukraine, and provide them with the opportunities that they need in order to succeed in the future.
Talk to me about Michelle Mone. What do you remember about the PPE contract with Michelle Mone when she approached you? How did that conversation go?
Well, during the pandemic, there were lots of people who were approaching us with offers of PPE. I referred all of them to the appropriate civil service channels in order to make sure that the PPE that we were being offered was of sufficient quality and could be sourced in time. It was a procurement process which every offer went through in order to assess.
But she did approach you with your personal email, no?
Well, lots of people approached me.
Personal email?
Yeah, there were lots of people who approached me, whether it was through email, text, or in the precincts of the House of Commons or wherever, to say that they could help us. Because, as you'll remember at the time, not just in the United Kingdom, but across Europe, we needed to source PPE quickly. And anyone who approached me, I said, thank you very much, and made sure that their efforts to help were referred to the appropriate, officially run, independent channel to assess whether or not the PPE that they were offering was value for money.
So what do you remember about the personal email that she sent you?
That she was one of a huge number of people who were approaching the government at the time, who were...
So you don't remember specifically her approaching you?
I remember lots of people approaching me.
Do you remember her specifically approaching you?
I do remember. The thing about Baroness Mone is that, as you know, she's a strong personality. But there were lots and lots of other people who approached me as well. Anyone who approached me, I thanked and then made sure that they went through the appropriate process so that anyone's claim was assessed not by me as an individual, but by an independent process.
OK, but what do you remember about her personal approach to you? What do you remember about that email?
I remember that she was keen to ensure that PPE, which the government needed at that time, was provided.
So you can't remember exactly what she said?
Well, lots of people approached me at the time.
I'm asking about her specifically.
Yeah, I know. And I'm saying that lots of people approached me. So what I can recall is that she said that there was an organisation that she believed would be able to provide PPE for the government. And I said to her, as I said to everyone, thank you very much, that's very kind. We do need PPE, but I'm not the person who can make that decision as to whether or not this contract should be awarded.
OK, but you did forward on that contact. And
yeah, as I did with lots of people, because
but I'm talking
my view...
about her.
Yeah,
specifically about her. How do you feel about the fact that millions of pounds was wasted because of that introduction?
Well, I don't know the detail of what happened once that bid was referred, because it was nothing to do...
Not my question, Minister. My question is, how do you feel about the fact that millions of pounds was subsequently wasted because of an introduction that you were first approached and then made to other members of government?
Wasted in what way?
Well, because apparently it was, quite a lot of it wasn't fit for purpose.
Well, again, I regret the fact that any PPE that was purchased was not fit for purpose, but my recollection is that the overwhelming majority of PPE that we did buy was fit for purpose at that time.
We're talking about this specific case, and it was a £200 million contract. Some suggestions that she made, £19 million personally, that's alleged. I don't have the facts that can confirm that or otherwise, but what we can say is a lot of that PPE was subsequently not fit for purpose, and it was an introduction through you. How do you feel about that in hindsight?
Well, I regret the fact that any PPE that we sourced was not fit for purpose. But the job that I was doing at the time was to make sure that at the time when we were facing a terrible pandemic, that anyone who wanted to help, anyone who was making an offer of PPE, was referred to the right channel. I would have hoped that you or I, if someone said, I can provide PPE, that we would have said, great, the thing to do is to go to this official government process, to go through this procurement gateway, to have the quality of the contract that you're seeking to secure assessed.
I understand, but I'm asking how sorry you are now that actually all that money was wasted because of an introduction that was made by you.
The first thing I was going to say is that I introduced lots of people. So, of course, I regret the fact that there was any that was wasted. But what you're trying to imply is that it was
I'm just asking you how you feel about it. I mean, I would be mortified if it had been me.
Because...
because it's a lot of money that's been wasted.
Yes, of course it is. And, of course, one of the things is that none of us want that money to be wasted, but the problems that we had with PPE at the time meant that we were anxious to secure contracts from everyone. The fact that some contracts meant that some of the material that was procured was not up to standards.
A decision that was made in haste?
Well, everyone was making that decision...
Doesn't mean it's correct.
Everyone was making that decision on the basis of what individual organisations put forward and what the independent process decided. I did not decide to award that contract.
You didn't, you're right. Talk
Thank
to me
you.
about energy. Are you having my water? Okay,
Yes,
that's fine.
thank you.
I wonder how you're saving energy at home, because the Chancellor's telling us that we need to save 15% on our energy bills. What are you going to do?
Well, at home, I try to, as much as possible, make sure that I turn down the thermostat, that I limit my energy use. But again, I'm conscious that as a minister, I'm in a relatively comfortable position compared to many others. So I think the right thing to do is to make sure that we safeguard people with the energy price guarantee, and we also provide people with routes to get the advice that they want on how to minimise their energy usage.
We know that you're a very healthy man. We often see you out running. When you do need to go to the doctor, do you use a private GP?
I, wherever possible, always use the NHS, but I have, on occasion, used private medicine.
We know that the Prime Minister does that as well. What do you think that says about the optics for people when they have to wait a fortnight for their GP, and the boss who is in charge of that system can spend 250 quid and just pop in?
I think the most important thing is making sure that all of us do what we can in order to ensure that the NHS gets the resources that it needs.
So you support him using a private GP when he wants to? Do you think everybody that's got enough money should use a private GP to take pressure off the system?
No, I wouldn't give anyone else any advice about their own healthcare choices. OK,
final question before I let you go. These pesky 100ml bottles at the airports, apparently that's going to be scrapped with these new scanners. I don't know if you've heard that or not. How relieved are you about that?
Well, whenever I fly, I always take a minimum level of cosmetic and other unguent with me. So I don't think it will make much of a difference to me, but for those people for whom it will make flying more convenient, I'm delighted.
It's great to see you. Take the water with you. We'll make you a cup of tea.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, as always. It's great to see you.